Ich habe zwei Mikrofone.
I have two microphones,
Okay.
the ones here and the one that I have on me.
das gleich zu
Okay,
beginnen.
good, just to make sure that everything's okay. Thank you very much and welcome to the 17th edition of ETH Forum Housing on the topic of intergenerational living from the idea to implementation. And thank you very much for joining us at ETH today. My name is Julia Dannath. I am Vice President for Personnel Development and Leadership at ETH and have the honor of welcoming you today as a member of School Management. It is the most important symposium of ETH on the topic of living and urban development. One of the most important questions that we will be looking at today is how we will be living in the future. A very big question. And as a university that has committed itself to knowledge and technology transfer and dialogue with society, we of course ask these questions regarding our future in different contexts. And we look at different perspectives. How can we develop the technology, the way of thinking, the competences that we need to overcome crises such as climate change and keep up with equally relevant ecological, social and political challenges and trends? How can we contribute to making a more inclusive and socially fair environment in which different people can contribute to success? How can we live and work more sustainably? How can we invest more reasonably and more sustainably? How and where will our students be studying in the future, and how and where will our employees be working in the future? It's clear that our world is changing rapidly. We're in the 21st century, a crazy time in which different trends and topics and rapid digitalization are taking place and are making our everyday life more and more complex, or at least it seems so to us. They used to speak of VUCA, a concept. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in one's environment. The American anthropologist and author Jamie Casco came up with the term Bani. He says that today's world is brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible for individuals. These are all terms that would probably make us depressed when we think about them a bit more. So, independent of what the reality looks like or how it has changed, our perception of reality has changed for sure. We see the reality around us differently than we saw it maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. And we realize that the resources we have are not infinite and that the challenges are very complex and that we need strong interdisciplinary cooperation in science as well, that we need a sense of community, we need fundamental changes of our habits and behaviors on an individual level as well to overcome the challenges that we are facing at the moment. And we want to look beyond what we are used to. We want to leave our comfort zones in order to invest long-term and sustainably. I always try to look at the question of the future of work. The COVID pandemic has shown that our employers have new autonomy regarding where and when and how they want to work, and that they enjoy that. There was a survey in 2021 that showed that a large majority of office employees don't want to spend their days at the office anymore. And we're speaking about people who work in offices, not people who work in labs. Home office and other flexible models are a must for institutions, including institutions like ETH, so that we can find and keep the best talent. and at the same time a change and flexibilization of the way that we work has an influence on how we live, what our environment and our home looks like, and that affects the social level as well. It also impacts how we create more equality, how we take care of our families and the people of different generations in our family. And it also impacts how we perceive our social responsibility in everyday life. The topic of today's forum is very important to me. I am from the Saarland region in Germany, and officially 60% of the town's residents are actually my relatives. So it's a very small town. I live in the canton of Zurich now, but I still have a house in my small town in Germany. And that house is actually next to my siblings' houses. Our children are growing up together and spend a lot of time together. And when I moved to Switzerland, my aunt actually moved into my house. And she takes care of my grown-up children. So there are very blurry borders when it comes to the families. Everyone lives with everyone, and no one is lonely because there's always someone around. And that gives us a lot of security. And it also gives me a lot of freedom. For example, the freedom to be here today. And still I have a lot of responsibility for the generation that came before me, and the one that will come after me. And during my holidays or on weekends, I can share my life with different generations. And that is a model that I think has a lot of potential and will give us many solutions, even when it comes to sustainability. It offers solutions for the challenges we have in sustainability issues, inclusion, aging, and a sense of belonging. It sounds like a new trend, but when I think of the community in the town that I grew up in, I think it's an old trend as well, because my grandparents, for example, lived in intergenerational homes or environments. I just realized that Ms. Perichiello is here, and I actually read a lot written by her during my studies, and I'm very much looking forward to her presentation. But before we move on, I would like to give the floor to Jennifer Barnstein, who is head of ETH Housing Forum. Thank you very much.